rocket ships on asphalt, thirsting for speed.
They go 3 wide into 1.
It's the IndyCars, heart-stopping, pavement-pounding monsters.
This is terrific.
Today, the IndyCars invade Michigan, where Wolverines rule the state, but horsepower is king.
Down the back stretch, side by side.
Strap in and take a ride on one of the world's fastest tracks next.
They're inches away at 214 miles an hour. Oh, Jill DeFerrin wins the Indianapolis 500. Look at that.
In the Irish hills of southern Michigan lies Michigan International Speedway, a 2-mile high-bank facility celebrating its 35th anniversary. And today, ABC Sports presents the Firestone Indy 400, the 9th race of the 2003 IRL IndyCar Series. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins, and normally we're just a few minutes away from the start of the race, but not this week. 30 minutes until we get the command to start engines. So we're going to be interviewing in the next 30 minutes the drivers of some of these cars, the car owners, generally setting the stage for today's race. Last race was tremendous. We had 9 leaders, 25 lead changes here at Michigan International, and we had a tremendous battle right up to the finish. Now this year, the pole position has been decided by 47 ten-thousandths of a second. All 3 engine manufacturers and both chassis manufacturers are represented. Now, what else is this? Well, the point Tony constantly Harry has only 21 points separate the top 4, last top 5, last 7. No. But the big here of 4. Only by 40. Oh, the last IRL this year, however, and until last Saturday night in Nashville, with led for both himself and Chevrolet for the first time this year. Jack DeRoot, who lives and has a lot of people smiling here today.
I've been smiling most. The IRL program manager for Chevrolet, Joe Negri. And Joe, what are the main differences between the Gen 3 and the Gen 4 Chevrolet?
Well, there's a lot of little differences, but the most significant difference was the introduction of the finger follower camshaft drive, like we do in our production engines. The finger follower gives us less friction and ultimately quicker valve motion, which results in a lot more horsepower.
All right, you're testing it today in Sam Hornish's car. What will you deem a success?
We came into this weekend hoping we could qualify in the top 5 and finish in the top 5, and we're on track to do that.
Well, I know one guy, Gary Gerald, that really can't wait to get on track is with you with this Gen 4.
Boy, he's been so patient all year long. He starts outside row 2 today in the 4th position. Sam, what are your expectations now that the horsepower issues have been answered by the Gen 4?
I don't know. I'm expecting to go out there, run good, and conserve some fuel, stay out of trouble, and hopefully win this race. But you know, we got a long way to go. 400 miles is definitely a tough race for Chevrolet to debut this new engine, but I think that shows how much faith they have in it.
Bob, I think they feel like they're now on even footing with the Toyota and Honda folks.
I think you're right. You know, Sam led for 10 laps here last year and finished in 7th position. Last year's race was tremendous. Sarah Fisher had a good run, but when all was said and done, the guy who started on the pole ended up in victory lane.
Launch now. Poncho Carter says launch now. Green comes out, and there goes Sharp, and there goes DeFerrin. They go 3 wide into 1.
I'm on a mission. I'm gonna break the speed of sound.
Sarah Fisher works on Scott Sharp. Schechter, by the way, is now in 10th.
Not a person sitting down in the stands.
Acceleration.
Look at this ball, 3 abreast, everybody's fanned out.
Give me more speed.
Almost touching wheels going into 1.
They say I'm crazy and I'm headed for disaster.
Oh yeah, Schechter now up to 7th. Sarah Fisher trying to get the lead from Giafone down the back stretch, side by side.
Acceleration. I gotta go faster.
Sarah Fisher comes to the front. Oh, yeah. Giafone comes back at her.
If I didn't know better, I'd say those 2 touch.
Well, you can't say they're not trying.
No.
Oh!
Still there. Okay, nice and smooth. Still there. Still there.
3 wide through the turn, Paul.
Inside. Inside.
I know exactly what I'm after.
Think about their heart rate's probably about 180 beats a minute right now.
But look down on the inside. Schechter has just joined this fight as he goes for third. Oh, do you believe this? Oh, yeah. Fisher, Hornish, Renna.
They say I'm crazy.
That was terrific. Fisher comes back and Renna. They know they're watching a finish. 7 to go. Schechter tries for the lead. Thomas Schechter. Oh, yeah. Now, Thomas Schechter has won the inaugural run for the Indy Racing League at Michigan International.
Well, last year, Thomas Schechter and teammate finished 1-2. Today, Thomas Schechter and teammate Scott Dixon start 1-2. Let me ask you, Thomas, you had us holding our breath those final 20 laps. Can you be that aggressive early here today?
Hopefully I won't need to be. I think we've got a good car and we're up in front, and hopefully me and Scott can sort of lead from there, and hopefully it's not that exciting the last 20 laps.
Let me ask Scott, rarely does Chip Ganassi, your owner, hand down team orders, but I'm told he said you guys can race each other, just don't wreck each other. Now, have you decided among the two of you when push comes to shove who will lead and who will follow?
You know, it's going to basically be who's got the best car. You know, we're doing well in the championship. Thomas needs help to get back up there, so you know, obviously we're going to try and make the best choice, and you know, we're not going to race that hard where we crash, so it doesn't matter. You know, first and second, both good points if it works out that way, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other great competitors up there to stop that.
Bob, this one should be fun to watch.
All right, Jerry, well, coming up, Scott Goodyear will tell us how collisions on pit road occur and how they can be prevented. And a home visit with Buddy Rice, who represents the young generation in the IRL IndyCar Series racing. But you know, that's the fans. How about the drivers? What do they think about driving on this 2-mile high-banked oval?
It's really a lot of fun to race over there, you know. Sometimes it can get a little hairy when everybody gets a little too aggressive.
It's a lot of challenge because you're going side by side and you could go 3 wide with different people. So you're flat all the time and you're actually really busy.
You're not going to see cars running single file. You're going to have cars around you all day. So as long as your car's working good, the track is great to drive. If it's not working good in traffic, it's horrible.
It's wild, I tell you. This is a track that's made for our cars. You know, 3, sometimes 4 abreast, wide open all the way around, 225 miles an hour. I mean, it's a roller coaster ride for the drivers, let alone the fans.
He's driven more miles than any driver in the field, over 8,100 miles of competition. Al Unser Jr. says that today, the only miles he's concerned about are the final 30 miles. He wants to hang around Gary Gerald until then. Then he says he'll put his Corteco car to the front.
Inside row 2, Helio Castroneves, a half-dozen top 3 finishes this year, but no wins. The key to get a victory today, Helio.
Well, be patient, be smart, wait for the last 50 laps, and then pedal to the metal.
This guy wants to climb a fence, Jerry Punch.
Well, Gary Alex Barron has logged 2 top 10 finishes, subbing for 3 drivers in 3 different races. And today, just a moment ago, he told me his strategy involves 3 rules. Rule 1, don't put the car in the danger zone. Keep it out of multi-car battles. Rule number 2, don't abuse the engine. Breathe it back off in the draft. And rule number 3, after lap 155, forget all about rules number 1 and 2. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations as we are set for IndyCar racing from Michigan.
You're watching the IRL IndyCar Series on ABC Sports.
Final preparations being made here on pit lane. Everybody back. The cars are about to fire. Meanwhile, let's get an update very quickly from Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Bob, if you're into numerology, this might just be Sam Hornish's day. You see, the car number 4 of Sam Hornish qualified 4th. Coming into today's race, he had led a total of 4 laps. His best finish this year, you guessed it, 4th at Richmond. And he hopes to turn his entire year around based on the performance of one engine, the new Chevrolet Generation 4 here today. Bob?
You remember the incredible race that we had here last year at Michigan International. The Infiniti Pro Series ran a race here earlier today. We'll show you highlights of that as the afternoon goes along. It was an incredible race. This is where drafting can definitely occur. We're going to see it as these 21 cars get lined up and go racing here in just a very few moments. Now, the guy that is going to give the command to start the engines here today is somebody that you're all familiar with. He won the Indianapolis 500 4 different times, and he is now a consultant for the IRL IndyCar Series. With the command, here is Al Unser.
On behalf of Firestone, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Ships on asphalt. I believe this. Thirsting for speed.
220 miles an hour.
It's the Indy cars. Heart-stopping.
An accident that's waiting to happen every lap but doesn't.
Wheel to wheel. Pavement-pounding monsters.
You got to be 100% from start to finish.
Oh, and a move for the lead, and just that quickly DeFerrin takes it away.
Last Saturday night, Indy 500 champ Gilles DeFerrin rocked the Music City with an electric display of fireworks.
Gilles DeFerrin wins in Nashville.
Today, the Indy cars invade Michigan, where Wolverines rule the state, but horsepower is king.
Down the backstretch, side by side.
A year ago, Sarah Fisher was on fire.
Oh!
But Thomas Scheckter was still standing when the smoke had cleared.
Oh, yeah! Thomas Scheckter!
This time around, two-time series champion Sam Hornish Jr. unveils Chevrolet's new power plant.
Oh, yeah!
The fight begins now.
Oh, the cars are rolling, and we're ready for the Firestone Indy 400 from Michigan International Speedway. The Chevrolet Corvette pace car, Jim Haynes is the communicator, the driver, Johnny Rutherford, who won first here in 1973. Behind the pole sitter, 22-year-old Thomas Scheckter. Scott Goodyear has his frequency dialed up on the radio.
Thomas, the question everybody has this weekend, does your Toyota have enough horsepower to keep in front of the new Chevrolet?
I don't know, I guess you guys will see in a couple of minutes, but so far so good. But so far this year Toyota's done an unbelievable job. Hopefully we got it today.
Well, good luck today on winning maybe number 2. Thank you.
Thomas Scheckter, the pole sitter for Speed Freaks. Here's a comparison to Winston Cup and the Craftsman Truck Series. 30 miles an hour faster than Cup. And 200 times around the 2-mile track. The turns banked at 18 degrees with at least 3 racing lines. And there are some stories we want you to watch. How is Sam Hornish doing with that Chevy Gen 4? Is Dixon going to continue his domination? The name Unser is all over the records here. How will Little Al fare today? Gilles DeFerrin won a week ago. How will his day go? And the engine battle is getting hotter. We'll track it. And the track conditions from Trim Spa. A light breeze has been blowing over this track. Actually, when you look at air temperature, the track temperature, the conditions are perfect. Now, we're hooked up to Scott Sharp in the 5th row.
Scott Sharp, Scott Goodyear here. You qualified in the middle of the grid, but you were second in the final practice. Have you guys found some speed in your car?
I believe we have, Scott. You know, Delphi guys done a great job. We improved the car. You know, I think this is a track that if you can draft well, you can start anywhere in the top 20, and you've got a great chance. And certainly we're starting far enough forward that we're planning on being there all day long.
Good luck today. Thank you.
Here's the way that they qualified. Thomas Scheckter and Scott Dixon on the front row the 3rd time. The Target Chip Ganassi teammates have swept the front row positions. Row 2, Elio Castro-Neves and Sam Hornish Jr., both looking for their first win of the season. Row 3, Al Unser Jr. and Alex Barron. Row 4, Greg Ray and Kenny Breck, a pair of former IRL champions. Row 5, Gilles DeFerrin, last week's winner, and Scott Sharp. The 6th row, Tora Takagi and Roger Yasukawa, the top-ranked rookie this season. The 7th row, Dan Weldon, and the Kansas winner, Brian Herta. The 8th row, Tony Kanaan, the current point leader, and A.J. Foyt IV. The 9th row, Vitor Meira and Buddy Rice, who ran second last year in his IRL debut. Row 10, Robbie Buell and Sarah Fisher. The 11th row, Buddy Lazier. Now back to the pits for a final check before the flag. Here's Gary.
Paul, in these giant fuel tanks, 190 gallons of methanol. The first pit stops today, there'll be a fast flow, gravity fed. 3 gallons per second go into the car. But late in the race, when this giant tank is nearly empty, it slows to 2 gallons per second. Late stops will be about 4 seconds longer than what we see early. Jack?
And Gary, if that's the case, then when we come down to change tires, it's one of these guns that turns over 1,000 revolutions a second that'll take the Firestone Firehawk tires off. But if you're in a battle for track position, Jerry Bunch, you may elect not to change on that last stop.
And Jack, total time in the pits involves not just the car sitting here getting fuel and tires, but the cars getting down pit road, entering and exiting at 60 miles an hour. Today, the teams are given a 20-foot extra lane either before or after their pits to be able to get in or out early. So, Paul, if there's a miscue here in the pits, it'll be from lack of judgment, not lack of room.
And at 400 miles, the pit stops are absolutely critical as well. Now, going up through the 3rd turn, there's your front row. Dixon high, Schechter low. The number 10 car is Thomas Schechter. The 9 is Scott Dixon. Keep an eye, too, on that 2nd row. The yellow car was the Gen 4 of Sam Hornish Jr. and Elio Castroneves on the inside. Green. There goes the green flag. Hornish moves to the high side immediately and goes for the lead. Dixon comes in behind him. Alex Barron drops into 3rd place. Whoa, look on the outside. On board with Sharp. A.J. Foyt, the 4th, came up alongside him. Kenny Breck darts to the inside. They all chase Hornish. 3 wide through turn 3. Sam Hornish and the Gen 4 Chevrolet is going to lead the first lap at Michigan.
Paul, what a great start, but I have one quick question. On the initial start, you're not supposed to improve your position until you get to the start line. And it's going to be interesting to see how Brian Barnhart and the IRL guys decide maybe if he improved his position actually before he got to the line.
And look back there, you see the green and white car of Tony Kanaan? That was the car you saw going around when we were on board with Scott Sharp. He jumped from 15th to 5th.
And that was in the 3rd line, Paul. We talked about 2 or 3 wide here. You can go just about anywhere here. They'll be running 4 wide as soon as some rubber gets back down on the racetrack.
And he is absolute evidence that both Honda and Toyota are definitely in this fight. It makes now a 3-engine fight in the Indy Racing League. Dixon in 2nd. Going into turn 1, he looked for room. Kanaan. They come to the front stretch, cross the line again. Hornish, Dixon, Breck, Barron, Kanaan.
You see Sam working that low line, keeping right down to the white line on the racetrack, protecting it the shortest way around her, but he comes off the turns, funnels down to the low side of the racetrack.
Once again, Dixon takes a look. Cars on the move. Well, several of them. We mentioned Kanaan, Kenny Breck up 5. Yasukawa up 4, Rice up 5. Barron continues to go side by side with Kenny Breck.
Listen to the strain on the engines as we ride along with the in-car, because what ends up happening, these guys do not lift their foot off the gas whatsoever, flat out, and it's punishing for these motors around this racetrack.
Scott Dixon still trying to move as Kanaan tries to move outside of Barron. Again, they go 3 wide. We're getting a report now that there has been contact between Scott Sharp and A.J. Foyt the 4th. Obviously, they both have continued on.
Paul, what we were seeing there was 4 wide and actually Brack down below the white line in that D section up on the front straightaway, because this track is shaped like a D. It's a tough place there to pass. Brian Barnhart said in the meeting, I don't want you guys below there. There's a no passing zone below that white line.
Dixon putting the pressure on Sam Hornish now. at the front, as it usually is at Michigan.
We talked about drafting. You see how he's right behind him going down the straightaway, moved out to the right-hand side, going through the turn. That's to get some air on the front wings of the car so the car doesn't slide up to the racetrack.
Now he's tucked right in on the backstretch. Going to dart out, see if he can get around. Hornish takes the low line. Dixon drops back.
Paul, they're telling Dixon on the radio to keep the pressure firmly on Hornish. He's doing exactly what they're ordering him to do in the pits. I think maybe they want to find out about fuel consumption with that new Gen 4, and maybe they're going to force the pace early.
That may, in fact, be a good thing to do, in fact, is to find out under pressure what they have. But then again, Chevrolet may be happy with that. Down on the inside, that's Dixon. You're on board Scheckter. The teammates are going to go side by side now in a battle for second. We'll take a look at the speeds at the line this time around. Well, that's interesting. Tony Kanaan. Whoa, look way down there. Brian Herta is the fastest at 2:19.7.
Taking advantage of all those cars up in front, breaking that wind for him up front. Now remember, these guys actually have full fuel load. As that fuel load burns off, the cars are going to go faster.
Front end closes up just a little bit. Hornish, the Gen 4 Chevrolet, continues to dominate. He'll lose this engine after this race. There's a move for the front. Scheckter goes high, but can he hold it? Red and white 10 car of Scheckter sitting high on the Pennzoil car.
Behind you two right now if you want to get in behind him and run.
There's some sage advice, isn't it? Comes from Pancho Carter, who, interestingly enough, sitting up on top of the grandstand, 1981, he won the very first Michigan 500. Now he's helping out Sam Hornish. Well, that's a guy I'd like up top. So it's Scheckter out front. Sam Hornish, though, led the early laps at Michigan. We welcome you back to Michigan International Speedway, the Firestone Indy 400. The leader is still Thomas Scheckter, who picked it up from Sam Hornish Jr. That's Castro Neves, who sits in third place right now. We go to Jerry Punch.
And Paul, we saw that first lap move by Sam Hornish to take the lead. That resulted from a meeting this morning, a team meeting where they asked the question, when do we make our move? The result, everyone resoundingly said, listen, guys, we are here to make a statement. Lap 1, turn 1, we tell everybody that's watching that the heartbeat of America is indeed back. Let's check in with Jack.
And one man that was not at all happy with that move was Thomas Scheckter and his Target Team Ganassi team. They calmed Thomas down, and they basically told him, look, we'll battle back, and they have.
Vitor Meira just slowed down, pulled off the pace. We
have no fuel pressure.
No fuel pressure early on. Shaft to the fuel pump.
Well, certainly it's going to actually come from the pump, Paul, because the fuel would obviously be full when he started. But a great run he had. Started 13th. It was all the way up to about 9th before that happened.
They stay green on the track as Meira pulls off. Jenks, what's going on behind the leader?
The man we're watching is Dan Weldon. We might, however, compliment Meira because he had moved from 17th starting position to 10th and was looking real good in the Gen 3 Chevy engine, but unfortunately the car has slowed and now arrives in its pit box. Other than that, the guy that I'm impressed with early in the going is Dan Weldon, who is now moved to 8th position. He's running right behind Scott Sharp and Kenny Breck. Weldon is coming off his best finish of the year. He was 4th at last Saturday night in Nashville. This Andretti green team definitely coming up front.
Bob
now,
Jenkins,
a fire.
Bob Jenkins, a fire up here in the Menard pit. They brought Vitor Meira in to take a look at what was happening with the car a moment ago, and they started screaming, fire, fire. They doused the back of the car with water, and Meira has gotten out, Bob, and the flame is still coming back.
You see, we talked about fire in the pits in the pre-race show, and you saw Meira reach up and pull his visor down as soon as he knew there was a fire so that nothing could get inside his helmet. Back at the front of the field, the 10 car, Target Chip Ganassi Racing, is Thomas Scheckter in second place and just driving all the folks at Chevrolet crazy, saying this is great, the engine work. Dan Weldon just slowed down. Bob Jenkins was just talking about him. It looks like they may have a serious engine problem, Scott.
Paul, you can see a trail of smoke coming out from the back of the car, either engine or gearbox. Doesn't look like he's under power right now, but we're already just early into this race, only 20 laps, and we're already seeing attrition. This is a tough racetrack for engines and transmissions.
Well, you've won this thing twice, and they test here. They try to simulate the race, but they never seem to be able to actually simulate the grueling conditions here.
And Paul, that's very true, and that's why this run today for Sam Hornish Jr. in this new Chevrolet engine is the first true test of this engine, even though they have tested it for over 1,000 miles.
Now the front four all bunched up together. Tony Kanaan in 5th place, right behind this group of 4. You're on board with him now. Andretti Green Racing, teammate to Dan Weldon and Brian Herta. Tiger Woods, Ernie Els, Phil Mickelson, and Sergio Garcia. Tomorrow night, the Lincoln Financial Battle at the Bridges, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. Elio Castroneves, 3rd place. Gil DeFerrin, his teammate, has fallen back 1 position from the start, now sits 10th. And it seems like many of the guys are taking to heart the fact that you got to survive this thing. We'll line up. We won't race just yet. Michigan International Speedway is now completely bathed in sunshine as we watch Sarah Fisher, her teammate Robbie Buell, right behind her. This is Generation 3 in terms of Chevrolet engines. Sarah led this race last year. Now, Brian Herta has been incredibly fast, regularly turning laps well above 222 miles an hour and several at 223.
Fast speeds, he has the opportunity to continue moving up through the field, and that's what he's trying to do right now, pick off everybody by drafting.
Up at the front, Sam Hornish was side by side with Elio Castroneves. Now he's looking for the leader. Slower traffic just ahead now.
Still inside, clear.
And Hornish takes the lead back. Hornish, Schechter, Castroneves, Chevrolet, Toyota. Kanaan is the fastest. Honda sitting back there in 4th place. You're on board with Kanaan. Now the leader closing on traffic. He's around Buell, coming around Sarah. The rest of the group. Behind you watch as this dance occurs from Tony Kanaan's seat.
And Paul, it's a dance. This is when the decision-making just happens for a driver. You're sitting up there, you're wondering what the traffic's going to do. You hope the guy in front of you makes the right decision also.
So now everybody else has to wind their way through. And the leaders are now clear and continue on. Gil DeFerrin, not where he would like to be. Gary Gerald, what's going on?
Well, he's been the red-hot man of late, but today things aren't going well. He said that he's flat out or flat on the throttle, but the car isn't responding. They're asking him to try different gears, 4th and 5th. So far, no help. It's the only thing he said on the radio thus far, that he's been going a little bit backward as the pack up front just tries to pull away.
32 laps are complete. We're guessing we're about 12 to 13, 14 laps maybe away from the very first stop of this race. We've been green flag all the way, and it has been fast, well above 200 miles an hour. One guy out, though, is Dan Weldon. He's with Jerry Pine.
And early on, not what the Andretti Green Team wanted to see happen here. Dan, we saw your car abruptly slow. Any clue as to what was about to happen on the track?
No, to be honest, the Klein-Tool Jim Beam car was running strong and we were just sitting there, but you know, I'm not 100% sure what was the problem. It was something mechanical, but you know, the guys have done a great job all weekend. We just can't get a break, and we're always very fast, and I'm sure it'll turn for us eventually. We just got to keep working hard, and we'll prove a point at St. Louis, I'm sure.
Okay, side by side for the lead once again. Thanks, Jerry. And this time it's going to be Schechter that leads across the line. Jack Arute.
Well, when Sam Hornish made the previous pass on Thomas Scheckter, it startled the South African. He radioed to Chip Ganassi. Where did he come from? They just told him, don't worry. He said, my car's working perfectly. We'll get him back. He did.
Yeah, they haven't seen that yellow number 4 come charging through like that this year. Look at there, your top 5, all in the backstretch. Now, Sam, look at his position, that yellow car just ahead. He's been running a slightly higher groove most of the early run here.
Paul, he seems to get into the middle of the turn, and then he looks for clean air. I'd have to say that his car is pushing. That's when the front's not responding for you. He will not tuck his nose behind Scheckter, so that means he's looking for clean air to make his car work for him. They'll make some adjustments in the first stop, and they'll make it better for him.
It also is going to give him air to the coolers. It's an engine, the Chevrolet Gen 4, that there's a lot they don't know about it. Only 1,000 miles of testing before they arrived here, and I'm pretty sure they'd like to keep it as cool as they can. Hence, you keep it up in clean air.
Oh, below the white line. Look at this, 225 miles an hour straightaway speed, 3 wide and below the white line there.
They continue 3 wide. Kanaan up high. Catherine Nevis in the middle. And it sounds like the Panther team's going to play it very careful and bring that car in about 2 laps. Don't want to run any risk on the fuel, and they want to know what it's doing at this pace.
Well, first time in race conditions. We talked about that before. Yesterday in the pit lane, they told me, we believe this motor not only produces more horsepower, but it also gets better fuel mileage. But we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out for sure.
Hornish trying to get a nose ahead. Scheckter takes the low line. This line has been working for Hornish. In this case, though,
here he goes.
Sam ducks down to the inside.
They told the drivers meeting, dip your wheels below the white line to let the other drivers know that you're going to come into the pits.
Now he's under attack by Dixon. And he slows down, comes into the pit area. So this is going to be the first stop of the day. It's going to happen under green flag. And it's going to be Sam Hornish, the team, I'm sure, playing it very careful.
And Paul, Scott Goodyear was exactly right. Sam has been complaining of a push when he gets right up beneath the back of a car. They are making a slight air pressure change here on the Panther machine. Otherwise, it should be routine. 4 tires, full of fuel. Very, very happy thus far with the Chevrolet Generation 4. First pit stop for Panther is done.
And as Sam Hornish roars away, you notice that Brian Herta's in there. He was running so fast, up above 223, but he's been in there a while. Something's seriously wrong there. On Kanaan, 4th place. Last lap at 214 miles an hour. They've been averaging over 217 miles an hour. Let's go to punch.
Hey, Paul, Brian Herta, the problem is that just simply began to sputter as they came down pit road for the pit stop, and they've had to change the battery. After a great beginning, Herta was a rocket here, and now apparently the battery problem a little more severe than they had anticipated. Lengthy time here in the pits for the Team Andretti Green machine.
Well, of course, Scott Goodyear, as we watch Thomas Scheckter, the leader, the first thing that you go to is the electronics, because you can change that immediately.
They certainly will know the battery's not charging. You can see that actually on the computer dash. They'll see that in the pits. The problem is it's early in the race, Paul. The battery will last probably for about 30 laps. They'll continuously have to do that to get to the end of the race.
Hornish lost a full lap, dropped to 16th. 1 lap behind the lead of the race. Jack Arute.
How important is this pit stop for Sam Hornish? Well, Thomas Scheckter looked in his rearview mirror, didn't see the Chevrolet, and kept shouting, "Where's Hornish? Where's Hornish?" He said, they pitted him. He says, "When do I come in?" They said, "Next lap." He's on his way, guys.
Now more and more cars beginning to stop. Foyt the 4th is into the pits. Buddy Rice is already in and on his way out. Herta continues to sit there. And so peeling off now, letting his teammate take the lead. With 41 laps complete. Scheckter on the pit road, Tony Kanaan behind him. Jack Arute.
There are going to be no changes on Thomas Schecter's car. The key, though, is to hit the marks exactly. And he does. 35 gallons of methanol, a change all the way around on the Firestone Firehawks. Thomas Scheckter likes his car. Now watch for the fueler. When the vent hose is full, they will pull it away. They do. And he lights him up, guys.
Gil DeFerrin also comes into the pits as Tony Kanaan rolls away. DeFerrin, we're looking for any changes they might make. Gave it a full load of fuel. Change of the tires, and DeFerrin comes back out. Al Unser Jr. comes out of 6th place and into the pits. Jack Arute.
Al Unser Jr., remember he said he just wants to stay in the hunt until with only 30 miles to go. They like the way their car is operating. The key during these pit stops, the fuel goes in at 3 gallons a second. He stumbles just a moment, but he's off and away cleanly.
And the Target Chip Ganassi racing team is going to find a bit of information out about how their 2 cars fare on mileage. You can see that Dixon is on the way in. So is Helio Castroneves.
Dixon hits his marks first. Castroneves has been complaining of understeer. They'll get a half turn of wing for Castroneves. No wing change apparent for Scott Dixon. Revs up. Here goes Dixon rolling. Here goes Castroneves. And Dixon beats him out.
Scott Sharp also came into the pits. It looked like routine service there for Sharpie.
Paul, pit stops we talked about before are always a tense time for the teams and the drivers. Right now, as a driver, you're just happy to get the first one underneath your belt.
So Barron, the 21 Hollywood car of Morris Dunn, picked up the lead, and now with 45 laps complete, Barron makes his stop. They're going for 4 tires. The key, though, always is fuel. Get all of it in you can, and looks like they made some major changes on the front. Tora Takagi, his teammate, is in too.
Go high, go high. That's it.
And now Takagi rolls out. They were really cranking on Barron's front wing. And Brian Herta and Dan Weldon, both Andretti Green drivers out. You talked and heard from Weldon. Now what about Herta?
Well, Brian, you climbed out of the car, and Michael said you were flat flying out there. Any idea what was going to happen? Did it just shut off coming down pit road?
Well, I don't know exactly what happened, but it's a shame that it did, because I tell you, and I don't say this very often, we had the car today, man. I don't think anybody was going to beat us. I was just riding back there. I mean, I was just saving fuel, riding in the tail of that pack. It was easy. And you don't get a car like that very often.
Well, Paul, the winner at Kansas City had a short day here today.
Yeah, and Brian Herta is usually a fairly understated guy, so when he talks like that, it's something. The 2 Target Chip Ganassi cars are out there and running hard. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television.
On ABC Sports continues.
Speed, when we left you, it was the Target Chip Ganassi cars out in front, and then here came Hornish. He took the lead. Dixon faded. Now Schechter and Hornish are doing battle, and Helio Castroneves is sitting back in 3rd. Now we take you back live action. It's still Schechter trying to get Hornish. We've just completed the first 100 miles, 214 miles an hour, green flag all the way, and this is what we've seen side by side battling for the lead. Hornish has the nose ahead right now. Schechter, the 10 car, is sitting high.
Paul, we had a report that Team Panther made some changes on the car, but Sam has radioed in, said, you know, the car's not still quite right. He's made all the adjustments inside the cockpit that he can. They'll have to make more changes on the next stop.
Well, if that's the way the car is mishandling, what's it going to be when they get it right?
Well, maybe he's going to have enough horsepower with that new Chevrolet engine to leave the field, but I don't see that. It's a big thing here with drafting, obviously, and I look for a shootout at the end.
We've had 10 lead changes thus far, including 7 in the last 13 laps. Scott Goodyear, you've won here twice. Put yourself in Sam Hornish's car, knowing that sitting right behind you is a thundering new power plant with very little history on it. What are you thinking?
As a driver, and you haven't led all year, and he just won 2 championships, he's always been fast. He is loving this, Paul. He's not been competitive all year, with the exception of a couple of races on short tracks, small tracks, where you don't need horsepower. But right now, he's soaking in every moment, leading this race.
Next Monday night, football's back on ABC, the NFL Hall of Fame game. Packers against the Chiefs, live at 8/5 Pacific, right here on ABC. Firestone Indy 400 battle is at the front. First four are all right together. And the real story is Sam Hornish. That Pennzoil, number 4 out in front. Chevrolet Gen 4 engine, brand new engine, and it's doing a good job for him. The 10 car, Thomas Scheckter, moves to the outside. Scheckter won this race from the pole last year. Jack Arute?
And he's put a call out to his teammate, Scott Dixon, and said, try to get Scott up next to me. We can work together, and we can beat Hornish. As they come to the line, we'll see just how fast the cars are. You can see that Dixon's trying his best to get there.
Well, with Brian Herta out of there, he was the one that was really flying earlier. Look at that. They're all right together. Kanaan quickest to this point, and he's in that group. That's Kanaan, the green and white. Hi, you're on board with him. And the yellow comes out. First yellow of the day. They are reporting that this is for debris, so the yellow flag comes out with 57 laps complete. First time of the day in the Firestone Indy 400. We'll be back right after this.
At lap 59, a caution. The first of the race comes out. It is for debris, so nothing serious on the racetrack, but it is going to necessitate
coming off the bank
some pit stops.
What's your pit
a
speed,
bolt
Sam?
was found on the racetrack, and that brought out the caution. Here come those who are on the lead lap, led by Sam Hornish Jr., who will be pitted on the bottom of your screen. Scheckter is running in second position. He'll be on the top. Everybody else peels off. Until we had that caution flag for debris, the average speed of this race was over 213 miles an hour, and we saw 5 cars battling nose to tail. Hornish is away in a little more than 8 seconds. Work still being done on the Thomas Scheckter car. He's out in 10.3, and Hornish will lead them out of the pit area. And it looks like Elio Castroneves is going to come out second with Kanaan third. They move up a position as evidenced by the arrows on the left part of your screen. Scheckter lost a position. Jack?
Bob, do you remember at the top of the show we talked about the air guns that cost about $3,000 a piece, turn at 1,000 RPM a second? There was a problem on the right front air gun. It staggered and stuttered, and they had to just get that lug nut on as quickly as possible.
So it did cost them a position under caution here at Michigan International Speedway.
The Firestone Indy 400 on ABC Sports, brought to you by Firestone, America's tire since 1900, Delphi, driving tomorrow's technology, and Honda, proud sponsor of the Indy Racing League IndyCar Series.
Still under caution here at Michigan International. Here's what happened under caution. That is A.J. Foyt, the fourth, coming onto pit lane. Watch the right rear roll off the car. Fortunately, it headed in the positive direction, the best direction. You see some of the spotters scrambling, but fortunately that wheel did not hit anyone, and so that was not a serious problem. They simply put the tire back on the A.J. Foyt, the fourth car, and he is back out there. We have 14 drivers that are currently on the lead lap as we will go green in just a few moments. Well, here's the question live from the net. Colin from Michigan wants to know, how much gasoline does an IRL car use? And the answer is very simple. It doesn't use any gasoline. These IRL Indy racing cars are powered by methanol. And they are, of course, fueled from pit road. And your question we will try to answer each week. You can log on to ESPN.com, keyword IRL, and submit your question. All right, Jack, we're just about to go green.
Well, Bob, we were talking about the problem on Thomas Schecter's pit. You see this little button here? It changes which way the wheel nut goes on and goes off. When you're done, you push it the one way or the other. That failed. That's what cost the precious time on that pit stop, Paul.
Well, Jack, it got everybody in line. We're ready to go green. Hornish Jr. is out front. There is the restart order. And Hornish Jr. accelerates. The green flag flies. He's got a nice large acceleration zone he can use here. He's always the first to move. The leader is the first to move. Kanaan comes up high on Castroneves. Fights for second. At Dixon down on the low side. And we've got trouble. Kenny Breck catches the wall coming off at turn 2. Breck was in 10th. Good position. He was running a good race.
You can see him lift his shield up, Paul. That tells everybody that he's okay. The IRL officials are watching him right now. He's obviously rating back to the pits and telling them what happened. On a restart, we talk about always a dangerous time. You never know what's going to happen. Cold tires, low pressures. Did the car bottom out? I guess we'll have to find out from him shortly.
It's always amazing to me. Here's a guy just cracked the wall at better than 200 miles an hour, kind of casually climbing out of the car.
You can see he's actually high on the racetrack, up into that gray area. That's where the marbles are. That's where the rubber comes off the tires and actually gets up in that top area. Once you're there, the car sucks itself into the wall.
Let's go to the pits. Jack Arute.
Scott Remke calls the shots for the Ray Hall Miller team. Did he say what happened, Scott?
No, we haven't talked to him yet and haven't seen a replay. I mean, on those restarts, everyone gets to go in one way or another. And
you want to take a look at the replay? We'll take a look at it real quick from the in-car.
Yeah, we're just watching, and I don't know, it's almost like you got in the gray or something. We'll just have to take a look at it. Kind of looked like maybe something even broke.
What about the track conditions? What did he report before that happened? How do you like the car?
No, it wasn't too bad. We missed a little on our gearing, so we were a little slow on full tanks, but we were real quick on mid to light tanks, so we were just playing it out to the end of the race.
Guys, that seems to be the theory for everybody. Just stay, 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 and wait for the end of the race.
So quickly, a second caution here after 65 laps. There are the top 6. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television. The sights and sounds of what have happened here at the Michigan International Speedway in about the last hour. There are 67 laps completed. We're cautioned because of an accident involving Kenny Breck. Scott?
Bob, you look at this restart right now. Kenny Breck's going into the turn, and you're going to watch his hands right here. His hands are not moving, but he's actually continuing to go in there, and he actually just drives the car up into the wall. Something broke in the car for him. Probably the left rear tire possibly even went down, but there was something that actually happened to him when he took the car up into the wall. He was not in control of the car.
But you notice that he took his hands off the wheel just before he hit the wall, and that might very well prevent a broken hand or a broken finger. Tony Kanaan is currently in second. Let's dial him up.
Tony, Scott Goodyear up here in the booth. 15th starting position, but boy, you're up there fighting in the front group. Did you guys find something with your car?
Well, I always told you guys we had a good race car. The whole 7-Eleven team did a great job all weekend. We knew we didn't have the fastest car for qualify, so we worked at the race setup with a little bit of advice from my boss, Michael Andretti. I took the line that he always did on everybody on the start, and here we are. So let's hope we can get, stay with the pack until the end of the race.
Well, good luck for a great race. Thank you.
Done a great job starting in 15th and currently running in second. Gary Castroneves is running third, but does he have a problem?
He has a problem. They're trying to identify it. We heard a radio transmission from Scott Dixon that Castroneves may be spraying fluid. Now we understand that they're trying to trace that fluid. They think it may be a water leak from the radiator. So the crew has come to the wall. They've got a unit they've placed over the wall that they can high pressure and send water and coolant into the left side pod, into the radiator area. Now, whether or not they're going to call Elio in, we're still waiting, but the preparations are made here, Jack, in case they do bring him off the racetrack.
And that report, Gary, came from one of this man's cars as target Chip Ganassi runs right behind with Dixon and then the pole sitter, Thomas Schechter. You finally got your two cars together, Chip. Now can you dance your way to the front in the draft?
Well, everybody out there now, they're sort of testing each other, I think, Jack, for later in the race. You got a lot of guys saving fuel, trying to run lean, see how much fuel they can save.
Are you saving any fuel at all?
Well, but we've run different mixtures throughout the race, seeing what our performance is relative to how rich we're running. So, yeah, everybody's sort of trying that thing now. It's going to settle out here in the next you know, next 50 or so laps going to settle out.
Bob?
There are the two Chip Ganassi cars. Castro Neves did come in, and so he's going to be falling back to the end of the line.
Bob, they sent Castro Neves back out without the side pod on the left side. The side pod is now back here in the pits. The key here is they're trying to keep him from losing a lap. He'll hustle around as best he can, come back to the pits. They'll try to address a possible leak in the radiator in that left side pod. Jerry?
Let's check in up here in the Panther pit with John Barnes and find out how this Chevy Generation 4 is running thus far. Telemetry-wise, John, how does it look?
Looks good. Everything's fine so far. Motor and Sam's doing really well, and we'll just keep seeing what we can do.
We are told from the smiles behind you that they have not shown nearly what this engine may have so far. Is that true?
Well, we'll let the fans and you guys talk about that later.
All right. I think they've got plenty left. Guys?
Well, Sam Hornish is at the front of the field as we await the restart of this event. One middle-class family moves into a mansion to battle it out for $1 million, but the servants secretly decide who wins the cash. George Hamilton hosts The Family, premiering Wednesday at 9, 8 Central here on ABC. We have had 4 leaders so far. Hornish has led the most at 33. There is Elio Castro Neves coming back into the pits as he will replace now, or at least put back on the side pod.
Bob, they brought him very close to the wall so that they could put this unit that will pressurize and send fluid back into the car on the pit side. It's very cramped quarters for this crew working, but they're definitely going to be in danger of losing laps now. We understand they're going to go green here. Paul?
I'll tell you what, you are watching Masters, though. The Penske team in the pits when they're under pressure. There's the restart order. Hornish Jr., Kanaan, Dixon, Scheckter, Unser Jr., Rice is a lap down. We're going to get on board with Al Unser Jr. and watch the start from this position. Restarts in fifth. Sam Hornish has already started his acceleration. Green flag is out. Boy, it's just a maelstrom of wind going down in that turn, just pulling you along. But look at Hornish as he just disappears.
Well, the one question to get answered for these guys, too, they know it had horsepower up the top to run fast. What kind of torque does the engine have? Does it have good restart possibilities? And I think he's answering that for us right now.
Sam darts to the inside of the track. He's using a little lower line than he was earlier. There's Buddy Rice, that yellow and blue car sitting up high on sharp. That's the older version of the Chevrolet, but he's pedaling pretty good with it.
Running in the draft, getting pulled along, as you mentioned, Paul, from all these cars in front of him. Probably wouldn't have the horsepower to lead the pack, but he's certainly got great opportunity to take advantage of running in the middle of the pack.
Still working on Elio Castro Neves. Target Chip Ganassi cars battle. Back in 8th place is Jill DeFerrin.
Red 2, Sam. Red 2.
DeFerrin, Penske Group are already playing with a strategy because they've brought him in now 4 different times, and it looks like all they're really doing is topping the fuel off. They were under the rear wing once, I assume trying to help him out with that handling problem, but they're also topping the fuel each time.
Paul, I can update on the DeFerrin situation. They went under the rear wing, taking the small wickers off the under tray. They were trying to reduce the amount of drag that they had created under there to make the car handle better.
It's Chevrolet, Honda, Toyota, 1, 2, 3. Hornish, Kanaan, Dixon. The battle of the power plants.
Paul, to expand on something that he was saying about the drag situation, those little wickers are little tabs that actually create a drag in the air. And what happens now, they must have put too much downforce on the car, too much grip. We heard him talk about earlier in the race that I'm flat out, I can't go anywhere. Way too much downforce in the car to go fast up front.
They're just like a little piece of angled aluminum. And they're so small you'd think that they wouldn't have that much effect. Sharp on the pit road. Now the engine, remember, he's got his finger on a button that slows it down to the pit speed limit of 60 miles an hour. So here, it won't sound all that great.
It's a problem with a Firestone tire somewhere on the 4. They began to lose pressure. They read it on the telemetry. Scott Sharp's crew goes to work. And he is out and away.
Speedway. Yeah, race control confirms that, Jack. They say it's a cut tire, and Sharp's already back into the fight, but when they're running 221 miles an hour around this place, that's costly. You see him go a lap down as he came out of the pits. Al Unser Jr., the teammate to Sharp, currently 12. Front four still right together. Kenny Breck, pretty good smack with the wall, but he looks like he may have been okay. Punch, how is he?
Paul, he came out of the care center and looks to be okay. Kenny, though, what happened? We saw the cars abruptly go up across the track.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened because I turned in and everything was okay, and then all of a sudden it was just understeering and straight up in the wall. If I cut a tire, if something broke or something, but it wasn't a normal situation. Nobody cut in front. I had, you know, pretty clear air and everything, so I don't know. Paul?
Well, Unser Jr. getting overhauled by both of the Target Chip Ganassi cars. Remember that Unser Jr. was fourth till these guys came up to help.
Outside, he's still there.
That weaving that you see right now, all that disturbed air that comes off the car either in front of you or beside you, and your car just moves around. You don't have a chance to hold it straight here at 225 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's not the driver. That's just whatever, what is it, Bernoulli's theorem is doing to you.
You're guiding. I always use the situation like, you know, if you're following behind a tractor trailer on the highway, you get all that air that buffets you around. These guys are seeing that, but 3 or 4 times the amount.
On board Al Unser Jr., Elio Castroneves has just climbed out of the cockpit and now stands alone on the pit road. He moved up to fourth in the points. That's going to have a big effect on that for him in 20 races now without a win. Indianapolis 500 a year ago. You're looking back from second. Jr. in third.
Looking on the inside. He's on the inside. He's there. Inside. Inside. Inside.
Talking about Dixon down there alongside Unser Jr. Tones of the engines. Really interesting how different they are. Three working the same formula. Top 6 actually last together. 6th place Barron. Fastest last time around at 2:19. Gary Gerald.
Hey, Leo, were you aware that there was spray from the back of the car, that a problem was evolving?
No, unfortunately not. They told me yesterday we had a similar problem during the radio. They said, well, I think we had a kind of same problem as yesterday. And nothing we could do. Towards the end, I started hearing stuff wrong on the engine. And unfortunately, one of those days that we're close, but didn't happen.
How much is this getting to you, the fact that you haven't been able to climb a fence in Victory Lane here since about a year ago at Indy?
Not at all. I mean, what can I do? I mean, or tell everybody to let me win, or work harder to make sure we can win.
He's got a point there, guys.
82 laps are complete, approaching the halfway point in the Firestone Indy 400. There's one of the guys who've been very racy, the 31 car, the Corteco car of Al Unser Jr. But the leader is a remarkable story, Sam Hornish. Look at that, they go 4 wide.
Clear behind now, just on the, you're all clear now.
This is what we've seen right from the start. Only one contact with the wall, single car. It was Kenny Breck. He's okay. We've had 2 caution periods. The other one was for debris. Unser Jr. grabbing gears to keep in this fight. But Hornish Jr., brand new Generation 4 Chevrolet, only guy in the field that has it. It's a test. It'll go to somebody else in 2 weeks when we give the coverage of the St. Louis race. But right now, he's out front.
Al Jr. is going to find himself getting close to the wall on the exit when you use that high line. 73 feet wide in the turns here, Paul. That's why drivers love it. Puts on a great show for the fans. Always over 220 miles an hour in straightaway speeds. whenever you run here as a driver, you love this place, but you have to respect it, because one small mistake, you find yourself into the wall.
Scott, one thing that Al Unser Jr. says he learned from Sam Hornish, how to run the outside. He said he made a study of it, and now he says, I think I've got the knack as well. He said that's one of the things in his bag of tricks for the end of the race. Look for Unser to try and be a little Hornishy when we get down to the short part of the race.
85 of 200. Now complete. Yeah, it's 73 feet wide in the 18-degree bank turns, but it narrows down to 45 when they get to that long back straightaway. But Hornish is still controlling the race. It's Chevrolet, Honda, Toyota. Quite clearly, the boy is back. Sam Hornish Jr. leading the Firestone Indy 400 as we approach the halfway point. But Tony Kanaan is in there to argue with him. Well, not only is Sam Hornish Jr. of Defiance, Ohio, fine race driver, currently leading, but he's a pretty tolerable bowler as well. Plays every week. And a man who knows how to work on those cars should it becomes necessary. Sam Hornish, but he's slowing. We're going to look at the Firestone telemetry. Sudden change in the attitude of the car. Slowed just a little bit, still in the lead. What's going on here? He's looking fine now.
Still good speed. You never know. Maybe he went up to go to get a gear, Paul, and it didn't get in. I mean, right now his speed is still there. Throttle percentage is right where you want it. Tire temperature looks fine.
So now we're getting a report from race control that Sam Hornish being put in the position of having to lead this race. And Jerry Punch, that's not really good for him.
Paul, it is not, but he's one of many that are having trouble in traffic. We saw Schechter a moment ago go across the racetrack. Hornish's problem is this: when he's in traffic, the car will not turn. He has a severe push, so he's forced to lead this race, which burns fuel. But I'm being told now from telemetry behind me that they're going to go to lap 105 for their next stop, so it's not too bad on fuel mileage. It's 45 laps with some yellows thrown in.
Look at that, top 5. You can see there's a bump just beyond the start, and as you say, it's start and finish line. And you can visibly see the cars smack that thing, though you can barely see it when you're out there on the track looking at it.
Well, Paul, you can certainly feel it when you're driving these race cars, and Brian Barnhart in the drivers' meeting this morning described that, and he said, if you guys don't want to go over the bump, then you can actually run your left side wheels.
All right, watch here.
Below the white line. We're going to come up to the start-finish line here very shortly. Now watch the movement on a suspension here.
There it is.
Right there.
Doesn't look like all that much, but I'll tell you why, when you're going 219 miles an hour with what they're doing right now.
Well, Paul, that plays a big part there right now, because these cars want to be as low down to the ground as possible for grip and for speed. And because of that bump, if you have to actually raise the car, it doesn't make the car handle as well as you want to.
Number 9 car, Scott Dixon, fastest last time around at 219 miles an hour. Jack Arud, what's his story?
Well, that's because the experimentation project for Scott Dixon is over. They tried to see what they could do vis-a-vis fuel consumption, and they have now extrapolated it out, guys, that if need be, they can gain as much as 2 laps on his teammate, Thomas Schechter, in terms of laps per tank of fuel. They said, let's remember that if we have to go for a green flag stop later in this race. Remember, Ganassi was telling us he wants his team to experiment at this point in time.
There's Honda Power. Tony Kanaan, we're going to measure speeds at the line again for you. I'm not thinking that if I'm Sam, I really want to be turning a lap like that.
Well, 219 when you're leading and you don't have anybody breaking the air for you in front of you, those cars that help break the air for the drivers behind right now, that's a pretty good speed, 219.
Here's Alex Barron, who is replacing Felipe Giafoni in this car. Giafoni injured, now back in Brazil to recover from his injuries. Barron He's everybody's immediate substitute whenever they're looking for another driver, and boy, he can give a race car a great ride, as he is doing here right now. Second quick last time around at 2:18, currently 6th. Saturday, don't miss Landon Donovan in the Pepsi MLS All-Star Game at 3:30, 12:30 Pacific, right here on ABC. Now Sam Hornish Jr. is going to have to deal with some slower traffic. That Buddy Lazier, the 91 car, he goes under him. And fortunately, with the spotters up top, as he comes by Robbie Buell, he's getting good information. Buell, who has had a less than great year, teamed with Sarah Fisher, currently running 16th, so at least he's moved up some, but that's pretty well represents the attrition. We're at the halfway point.
Paul, this race for Robbie Buell is really like his hometown race. Grosse Pointe, Michigan. Probably could drive to the racetrack to come over here. Doesn't have to get on an airplane. And he would certainly like to do well, but help is on the way because of this new Chevrolet engine.
You got to keep an eye on this guy. Al Unser Jr. won at 500 miles here in 90.
You're clear.
We mentioned the legacy of his family here. The Pole Award is now named after Uncle Bobby.
Yeah,
Listening to Al for a second there.
You could see his head move in the car when we went over that bump. Spoke with Al this morning. As you know, he's one of the guys that we speak to on the radio occasionally. I asked him what's up, and he says, I got to focus 110% today because we got a real good race car, and I want to win.
And there are a lot of folks that think he is fully capable of that, but then a goodly number of fans rooting on the number 4 car. Sam Hornish, sitting right here so close to Detroit and the headquarters of General Motors, and you know that a lot of their people are keeping track of how this Chevrolet Gen 4 is doing. So now we're just past the halfway point, 102 laps of the 200. Let's have our pit guys bring us up to speed on what the leaders are doing, starting with Jerry Punch.
Paul, Sam Hornish is having a great day for the first outing for this brand new Chevy Generation 4 engine. The only problem he's had, a little bit of a push in traffic, the car a little bit bobbly when he gets behind somebody. But remember, he hasn't been behind many people today. Jackaroo?
Well, for second place, Thomas Scheckter, he was your pole sitter. The only problem that Thomas Scheckter has had all day came on pit road when the reverse on the air gun failed. Since then, though, Scheckter has been simply trying to conserve fuel, and as Chip Ganassi said, check out what he might need, Gary Gerald, later in the race.
Tony Kanaan, he was angry at himself yesterday as he qualified 15th, said, we deserve much better, I can do much better. We just talked with Kim Green. He said it's been a dogfight to fight our way to the top 3 to get up with the leaders. I said, do you want to lead? And he said, well, no, not really. They've made no aero changes on the car thus far today. Jack?
Al Unser Jr. has run more than 8,100 miles in active competition. He said at the beginning of the race, the only miles that he was concerned about were the last 30 miles in this race. I just talked to Steve Newey. He said, we are just cruising. What about Scott Dixon? This is a guy that started on the front row. He has been experimenting, according to Mike Hull, with different fuel settings, different air pressures, trying to gain as much information as possible so they too could be ready like their teammate for a late dash at the end.
Well, now the report's coming in that Sam Hornish may be on the pit road very shortly. 45 laps since he last stopped. The same is true of everybody in the top 7. The Panther team already has everything laid out. And Pancho Carter lets him know that he's on the pit road now. Scheckter will pick up the lead. It's got to be an eternity in the cockpit when you slow down like that.
Paul, Sam Hornish wanted to lead the first lap, the halfway point, and the last lap. Right now, he has completed 2 of those 3 tasks, leading lap 1 and lap 100. Not a single change, no air pressure, no adjustment. A plain, pure, quick pit stop for the Panther team. And now problems a little bit, getting a full fuel, and he is down and away.
So Sam Hornish completes an 11-second pit stop. We'll expect most of the front of the field to be in within a very few laps And Jill DeFerrin, who's on strategy, will probably pick up the lead. We'll be back. Back at Michigan while we were away, Thomas Scheckter came in and pitted. And now the leader, plus, which is Al Unser Jr., Canaan Dixon, all three on the pit road.
2, 1, let's hit your mark,
Well, look for an adjustment on Scott Dixon in the right front wing, or up in the wing area. They will twist on the center of the nose. They do now. They're going down.
No changes error-wise for Tony Kanaan. Hesitating, waiting for the fielding, trying to get the full load.
And look who was quickest.
Tony Kanaan rolls out. Unser Jr. rockets out of those pits. Barron, who was the leader for 2 laps, now on the pit road.
Oh, stalls it. Oh.
Now they're still fueling. Now he goes. Kicked it into gear. Took it out of gear while it was up, which is a pretty good thing to do. Keeps anything from spinning, grabbing one of your crewmates out there. So Unser Jr. is going to go in front. Maybe not.
Well, he left.
Jackaroo.
You want to know how close this team of Scott Dixon wants to measure their fuel consumption? The extra fuel that came down this pipe. A simple ruler. They measured it. They know the volume that goes into the hose, and they added that to the amount of fuel that did not go in the car, so they know how much they've got left in the tank and what they've consumed.
Yeah, good. You're all that high-dollar telemetry stuff and the sensors and computers, and they're using a ruler?
Hey, all you need is a ruler and a stick, and you can go IndyCar racing, guys.
I don't think so.
Well, that is certainly a double check to make sure that you don't miscalculate with the computers.
Well, you know, part of what they're fighting against is the fact that the fuel tank, when they pull on it, it surges back. It's got back pressure on it. That fills the tank. It's all gravity full. But then when they yank it, it kind of surges back. It takes a moment for them to figure out what they actually put in there.
And what a dance we just saw with those cars going over the bumps. The back end of the car, right there of Dixon's, just make a big leap. Not very comfortable at 220 plus miles an hour, Paul.
For the first time, we've actually seen a staggered battle at the front. Hornish Jr. has 4 seconds over this fight. Scheckter, Dixon, Unser Jr. There's Hornish. Let's go back behind the leader. Jenks?
Tora Takagi started this race in 11th position, and he is now running 6th. You talk about a consistent performance this year. Tora Takagi has indeed been right in the mix of things nearly all race long. He led 15 laps at the most recent event in Nashville, ended up in 7th position. You remember back in Texas on a high bank 1.5-mile speedway, he had his best performance of the year, starting 3rd and finishing in 3rd position. Tora Takagi for the Monon Racing Team looking good here with 117 laps completed, currently running in 6th, but Hornish is the man up front.
And least we forget, though, with Sharp comes into the pits, this should be routine service. He's 41 laps out since his last stop. Might be a touch early.
Hold the brake, reset fuel.
And the voice you hear is that of Tom Kelly, his owner and the man that calls the race for Scott Sharp. They do make a wing adjustment on the front of the car. You notice how long it's taking, guys. They want every ounce of fuel in these cars. An unbelievable amount of green flag stops. And by my calculations, fellas, we've still got 2 more stops to go. Maybe, if there's a few more yellows, maybe just 1.
Well, we have been relatively free of yellows as we're looking at 2nd through 5th. Hornish is obviously the leader, and you can see what his distance ahead of Scheckter is, but this is the battle right now while Hornish runs alone.
Now, right now, all these guys up in the 2nd through 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th pack, these guys are getting a feel for their car in traffic. A lot of moving around happening right now. You're trying to understand what other kind of conditions, changes, and things you like to make for the next pit stop, Paul. You only might have 2 left, as we heard Jack talk about.
Boy, that's great, isn't it? Nice, clean racing as Unser Jr. comes up on the high side. IRL is warned everybody about take care of your buddy. You only really have to go hard the last laps of this race. That's the philosophy that everybody approaches the race with, but it's nice to see it in action. That pack comes around Buddy Rice now, who is probably sitting there saying, boy, oh boy, I'm going to get that big Gen 4 engine Chevrolet next race at St. Louis in 2 weeks. Oh, that's going to be great. Hornish Jr. out in front, two-time champion of the Indy Racing League, reigning champion. We'll be back.
You're watching the IRL IndyCar Series on ABC Sports.
125 laps complete for the leader, Sam Hornish Jr. You can see the interval back to second place and third place. Both target Chip Ganassi cars. Dixon and Scheckter. Scheckter is second. Dixon had a problem coming out of the pits on the last stop, Gary.
Yes, he did. As he went to pull away, the vent hose didn't respond cleanly. It snapped back. There was concern as it hit the ground. He got away without breaking it off. Here is the damaged hose. It's already been taken off. And if we swing right over here to the fuel tank, you can see that a brand new vent hose, the entire unit already in place, ready for the next servicing for Scott Dixon. That's one of those little miscues that could have been oh so costly, as we've seen a couple of times early this season. In this instance, virtually no damage done.
In fact, it reminds us once again as we ride on board the trim spot car number 13 of Greg Ray as all of the leader group moves to the outside and comes past. That's a little reminder when you saw that hose go flying back of just how really dangerous this is. These guys make it look so easy and have great courage, but both on the track and in the pits, it's pretty amazing what they are able to endure. Hunter Jr. Here are our stories. Well, yeah, I'd say Sam's smiling. Dixon's still looking good. Hunter, he's continuing the legacy. None of that's resolved. That looks like it's going to go to the finish. DeFerrin languishing back in 8th place. And talk about balance of power. Chevrolet, Toyota, Honda. Look at them. First, second, sixth.
And Paul, even though Sam Hornish Jr. is the only one with this new Chevrolet engine, a lot of smiles up and down pit lane these last couple of days, because once the motor came out and was fast in the very first session here, everybody knows they'll have it by the Kentucky race. Everybody knows they're going to be on par, hopefully, with Toyota and Honda. They all feel like this hard work and this weight is going to pay off.
And Scott, the only thing that we are not sure of with this Chevrolet Gen 4 engine, only 1,000 miles of on-track testing. We asked Joe Negri before the start of the race if they had sufficient time to really map out just how much fuel they can get out of a tank on the car. He said they did some, but that was the one Achilles heel. And under these green flag conditions, you know you're rolling the dice sometimes. One lap can be the difference between running out of fuel or not.
Tony Kanaan, fastest last time around. You saw him go around Barron and into 5th place. Hornish is the leader. Jenks, what's going on behind him?
Jay Foyt, the 4th, is just about to get lapped, but it will come on the 132nd lap. He has done a tremendous job today staying on that lead lap. Of course, criticized many times this year for perhaps joining the league a little too early. He's certainly not showing that today. Foyt started 16th, currently running in 10th position, will be lapped before long because Sam Hornish Jr. is approaching him. And one other thing you have to consider is that a year ago here at Michigan International, in an Infinity Pro Series race, A.J. Foyt, the 4th, was the winner, and that certainly helped propel him to the Infinity Pro Series championship. That is Foyt just ahead of Sam Hornish Jr., with whom we ride.
And he seemed to calmly handle that wheel coming off as well. Came in, got a new one, no problem at all. So at Michigan, the Firestone Indy 400, 132 laps are complete. Of the guys out of the race, perhaps the two most important are Kenny Breck and Castroneves. Castroneves with a failure in the cooling system, and Breck out with a smack on the turn 2 wall. That's the only car that's had any contact with the wall. It's been an amazingly fast and safe race thus far. Hornish is the leader. Lead has been shifting back and forth, and Hornish with that new engine, but let me tell you, Toyota, Honda, They're not giving up on it. They want to get up there and take that away from him. Look at him dart and weave. Wow.
The guy in the back always gets the fastest toe, so he steps out. The next guy steps out. It just continues on down the line. A very dangerous time at over 220 miles an hour.
They go 3 wide once again. That's Barron high. Whoa! Barron picks it up. 3rd place now. And now he's going to try a charge on Dixon, Schechter. Barron on the move. Unser Jr. is working the high groove as well, trying to come in and latch on to Barron.
Paul, without a doubt, he made some changes on his car. His car is definitely working well for him. To be able to weave through the traffic like that, took advantage of the toe perfectly, coming onto the straights. He's done a great job.
All right, fastest laps thus far today. Herta, who's already out. The guy we just saw, Barron. Barron is absolutely flying. Now, we know what the fastest laps are here. Who was the first driver to break the 200-mile-an-hour barrier at Michigan? Here's a clue. Got a relative in the race.
Well, the
doing good.
Name up. Unser.
Yep, his nephew, Little Al, currently sitting in 4th place. Bobby Unser was the first over 200 miles here. Now you're with Kanaan. Look how fast he goes past Buddy Lazier.
Buddy's another guy that will be getting that new Chevrolet engine. We talked to Ron Hemmelgarden the other day. Says it's been a long season, but boy, we are awfully anxious.
Yeah, we probably ought to review that as we ride with Tony Kanaan, Scott. Right now, the Gen 4 Chevrolet only exists in Hornich's car, the leader. But as we take a look at the Chevy leaderboard, the second team in that line, Cheever, Red Bull Racing with Buddy Rice, logically will end up with that engine come the next race 2 weeks at St. Louis. And then when we get the next one down the road at Kentucky, all of the Chevrolet entrants will have that. And Chevrolet is not charging right now for maintenance on the Gen 3 engines at all. And they're just going to pick right up, take care of everybody now, and then Kentucky, they all have the new one.
And Paul, we should explain that there's not enough Chevrolet engines to go around at this time for everyone. That's why it's on a step basis getting into the program for Kentucky.
Yeah, they're not all that easy to build. Cosworth building them for them in conjunction with General Motors. Roger Yasukawa, 9th place. Honda, 2nd. Honda in the line. Kanaan is at 6th. Yasukawa is at 9th, running 216 miles an hour. Unser Jr. side by side with Schechter. Unser Jr. was 2nd quick last time around. Hornich was quickest.
On the inside. On the inside. You're clear.
See, he got a little bit of dirty air from Junior up ahead. The car washes out, goes across the road. Now he's got to regain his speed, get back into the draft. Picked his top gear.
I don't think I've seen him shifting gears as much on a big track as I have today.
Well, it depends on how your car is working. Sometimes there's a headwind, although the wind is pretty calm here today. But if you can use the gearbox to help keep the engine in that RPM band, the car will run faster.
Yeah, the flags are just barely moving over the start-finish line. We're full overcast overhead. We had sunshine earlier. 141 laps are now complete. We're getting down to those closing 50 laps that everybody says is the time to light it up. Well, they've been at each other pretty constantly. Makes you wonder what's going to happen in these last 50 laps. Hornish Jr. again fastest last time around. Still watching that battle, 2nd back through Kanaan, who is 6th.
Inside.
And Paul, as these guys have been battling each other, trying to get to that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th position, Sam Hornish continues to stretch out his lead.
But remember, despite the fact that he has a 7-second lead right now, that's not really what he would like to be doing, according to what we're hearing from the pits. That it might be better if he weren't out front taking advantage of somebody else's draft.
Back at Michigan International Speedway, where we are under caution again, this time for debris on the racetrack. This is our 4th caution of the day. 6 leaders to this point. Sam Hornish Jr. running away with things. He had about a 7-second lead, but of course that goes to 0 now. Now this caution comes with about 55 laps to go. The question is, when the pits are open, these guys come in for fuel. Can they go the rest of the distance? And the general consensus is that no, they cannot, especially Sam Hornish, who has gone a maximum of 46 laps this afternoon. And there are 55, as I said, to go. The piece of debris on the track was metal. They have retrieved it, but now they will allow these cars to get a pit stop here at the 147 lap mark. A very impressive performance today by Sam Hornish in that new Gen 4 Chevrolet engine. He had stretched his advantage out and has led a total of 101 laps here today, so he will get the points for leading the most laps. Thomas Scheckter has led the 2nd highest number of laps, 36. We have had a total of 6 different leaders today and 15 lead changes. The average speed to this point is 186.008, and now pit road becomes very, very busy as the 9 cars on the lead lap are able to come in for a pit stop, and some besides that.
And it is the Pennzoil Panther team, the lead Gen 4 Chevrolet. They go in. They are not anticipating making any changes, but this is when you have to be very careful. They had a little bit of a miscue there for a moment, but it won't be costly. But it looks as if it will cost them a position on the racetrack, guys.
Looks like Alex Barron is going to be the first out. Unser Jr., then Dixon Kanaan. Each of those move up 1 position. Scheckter and Hornish lost positions, and Takagi will go out into 7. Scott Goodyear is out amongst the spotters stationed up here high atop the 2-mile banked oval.
Bob, I'm up on top of the grandstand in what they call the spotter's cage. Every car has a representative here for a spotter right now, with Mr. Wheeler, who's called Packy as a I guess a name that you go by. Is that what you do when you go on the radio here with Scott Dixon? Is you call back and say Packy Wheeler, or what goes on with you guys?
Basically up here, Scott, just an extra set of eyes for him. Obviously, he can see what's in front of him. Can't tell what's always going on behind him. We just try and help him out while he's out there.
And is he a calm guy in the car right now, or in this situation when you're doing 225 miles an hour in the draft, everybody's moving around? Is he calm, or does he get excited?
He's normally a very calm guy. I think he's got a little nickname, the Iceman. I think that kind of explains it. But obviously, there's times where he can get animated also. He's human.
Well, Bob, there's a lot of excitement up here, and just behind Glenn, actually, Tony Renna is working for Al Unser Jr., and he finished 7th at Indy and 4th here last year.
Indeed, Tony Renna, with an impressive performance here last year, is the Kelly test driver, but does not have a regular ride in the series. As we jump on board the car driven by Al Unser Jr., he is currently shown in the 2nd position. Well, Sundays this fall, this rookie's about to meet the man who will make him a cop. Danny Nucci and Ernie Hudson, 10-8, a new series coming Sunday this fall to ABC. 9 cars are on the lead lap. They are Barron, Unser, Dixon, Kanaan, Scheckter, Hornish, Takagi, Yasukawa, and Gil DeFerrin. Now, DeFerrin has not had a particularly good day, and his teammate Elio Castroneves is going to end up in 17th position in this race. He dropped out several laps ago. Those who are currently not on the lead lap are Ray, Foyt, Rice, Fisher, Lazier, and Buell. Scott?
Thomas, Scott Goodyear up here in the booth. You put on a great show last year in the last 50 laps. Are you guys going to do that again for us and pull out the win?
I'm going to try my best, but I think Hornish has been keeping something up his sleeve. He seems to be pretty quick. Definitely going to give it our best shot.
And on that pit exit in that last stop, did you and Hornish come together?
I felt a little bump on my right rear, but I didn't see anything. I think I was trying to get my teammate coming out. I was side by side with him, and he was moving up. But I did feel a little bit of a bump.
Well, the last 50 laps are a shootout. We're excited. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still under yellow, Dr. Jerry Punch is out amongst the fans in the infield. What's going on, Doc?
Bob, what a great view. We are over here at the middle of the back straightaway with Jason Marvin and his girlfriend Melissa from Delta, Ohio. And I'm told you have come today to your very first IndyCar race. What brought you here all the way from Ohio?
Well, I wanted to come up here and make sure this Chevy could make it back. I've been a Chevy fan my whole life. Wanted to see if they could hang with the big boys now.
You have got to be ecstatic because that Chevy's not only hanging, they've been trying to hang with him.
He's been doing great. He's been running with it all afternoon. I'm glad to see it.
Well, what are your thoughts for open wheel racing? I know you've been a stock car fan. You told me a moment ago for a lot of years. You want to come back and see some more of this stuff?
Oh, yeah. I'll be back here next year. It's a lot more exciting than I thought. The cars are so fast and everything else. It's great.
Next year, heck, we're in St. Louis in a couple of weeks in Kentucky. Come on down.
All righty.
Having a great time here in the infield, Bob.
One thing we must point out, just because the engines have Toyota and Honda nameplates does not mean that they are made anywhere but the United States. The Honda and the Toyota engines that the IRL IndyCar Series race, they are built here in the United States. But, of course, everybody likes the Chevrolet nameplate. It has not been very successful this year, but it certainly is today. And while we have the time, while we are under caution, we want to wish a very happy birthday to a guy who has been with our ABC auto racing team for many, many years. Bob Sterling will celebrate his 77th birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Bob. Jack? Well, we have a problem with Jack Arut's microphone. We'll get out of him in just a few moments. Meanwhile, we are just about to go back to racing here. They're in turn number 3, Paul.
Barron is the leader, coming back to the green flag. There's the restart order. Hornish has led 102 laps of this race, and we're off again. Look at Hornish on the inside.
Look at this.
Now look how steady Barron is up front. Takagi moving high.
And Sharp trying the high side way back there right now. He's back on the lead lap after having a couple of miscues.
Barron now Takagi second. You know, Scott, 152 laps complete, 48 to go. We're looking at the Firestone telemetry on Sam Hornish. But we're now in those last 50 laps that they say we're going to go racing. Hornish certainly looks like he is. But it looks like we're right on the edge of a fuel window at the finish.
Maybe another yellow, Paul, and these guys will probably be able to make it. But if it's green all the way, maybe a splash and go. And that puts the pressure on the pit guys. We've always talked about that before. A lot of pressure on the drivers, especially a lot of pressure on the pit crew.
They dart and weave everywhere. Gary Jarrett, what do you think the story is on fuel?
I can tell you, Paul, that there was great disappointment from the crew here with Dixon and also Thomas Scheckter because they felt they had an advantage. They were going to be able to go to just one more stop, but that yellow negated all that. They had to come in, and the opportunity was there. It looks like everybody will have to stop at least one more time before this race is over.
There's a shot you only see in the Indy Racing League as you watch the 10 car of Scheckter maneuver to the high side. Here comes Takagi with Hornish pushing him. They're going for the lead, trying to take it away from Alex Barron. So now the teammates at Morris Nunn Racing running first and second, Barron and Takagi. Toyota, Chevrolet.
This is the segment of the race where Brian Barnhart said, guys, don't stop the respect you have for each other and yourself when you're out there on the racetrack. Don't get too close, as we see right now, getting down that white line with Dixon. All these guys are trying to position themselves right now. They want to show the hand that they have. 3 wide right now.
Schechter's running high on Takagi. Dixon's coming low. Hornish is trying to get Barron, and the report from race control is that the Kanaan engine is sounding bad, and that's the points leader. That's Kanaan, and he's slowing down. Oh, man. He was so much part of that fight. So now we have 2 guys out, Catherine Evans and Kanaan, that are going to have a major impact on the championship.
Michael Andretti just told us he doesn't know what's wrong, but the crew is waiting for its way back around to the pits.
Hornish going after Barron.
Got about 8 on third place.
Maybe.
That's the one thing you never know. We come down the last lap, Paul. This could change 2 or 3 times.
So Barron is able to hold the lead going to the line, but maybe Hornish learned something.
Well, you know, does it make sense right now for Sam to sit back and maybe gain a little fuel right now just in case we have a short yellow? There's a lot of things, a lot of strategies playing out now.
Look at this on the high side there. That's the 55 car of Roger Yasukawa. Trying to get third away from Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Dixon and Schechter. Unser Jr. is the car down low. Takagi behind Unser Jr. And we saw the nose of DeFerrin in there too. Oh, they're all coming up to the front to play.
Why the drivers love this track, Paul. You go in there, you know you can stack them 3 high, sometimes 4. There's lots of room for your competitor next door.
Drivers, that's why fans like it, why I like it.
Here, Al just squeezing the throttle on and off a little bit on that low side. Maybe the car's pushing up.
160 complete. 40 to go. Yasukawa, Unser Jr. side by side. Hornish still trying to work on Barron. Barron is holding him off. It's Toyota, Chevrolet, Toyota.
The Firestone Indy 400 on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Toyota. Get the feeling. And 7-Eleven. When it comes to fresh, 7-Eleven has it made. Hungry? Thirsty? Oh, thank heaven.
Not going to happen.
You will not believe what just happened at Michigan International Speedway. Watch what happened just a few moments ago. These are the first 4 cars. That's Alex Barron in under Sam Hornish. The 10 car is Schechter, and the 9 car is Dixon. Schechter up high, and Barron through turn number 3. Touch wheels. Schechter keeps it off the wall. Barron spins, but not only does he not hit anything, he gets the car going in the right direction, crosses a line, and doesn't lose a lap. And the crowd went wild. They were going 215 miles an hour when that happened. And a great job of driving by both Schechter and especially Alex Barron. Wow, it was breathtaking. Now, the pits are going to be open, and this will allow everybody to come in and get enough fuel to finish the race. The pits are open, and here they come down pit lane. Gary can see the Ganassi cars.
Chip Ganassi steps out to the wall. We get the low look here as we await the arrival of Thomas Schechter. He won this race last year. He's currently running 2nd. Dixon, his teammate, will go to the next pit. Here comes Thomas. He dives in. This should give them the fuel to go the distance.
Hornish is going to win the battle out of the pits. Looks like Tora Takagi will come out 2nd, and then Schechter and Dixon. But boy, this is going to give Sam Hornish Jr. the lead lead as we go back to green. Jerry.
And Bob, that yellow may have just saved the day for Sam Hornish and the Pennzoil team. They were going to be 8 laps shy under green. They came in just now, no tires, 6 gallons of methanol, and they are set for the checkered flag. Jack?
Well, let's check in with Joe Negri, the IRL manager for Chevrolet for the project. Are you happy?
Couldn't be much happier at this point. We've already accomplished what we wanted to, so we can be competitive with this new power plant.
Now, he goes back, Sam Hornish, to the Gen 3 engine for St. Louis, but I understand you've got some changes there as well.
Yeah, we do. We got some development things. We haven't stopped working on the Gen 3. We got some things to put in the engine to give Sam the best shot he can for a St. Louis win.
Hey, and Bob, let's not forget how well Sam Hornish ran with that Chevy Gen 3 on short tracks.
Absolutely. Now, Al Unser Jr. did not make a pit stop, and so he is going to be the leader of the race. He has gone 19 laps since the last pit stop, so there's a bit of strategy being played out. Hornish second, Takagi third, then Scheckter, Dixon, DeFerrin, and Yasukawa. The only other cars on the lead lap, Barron and Sharp. Now, what's up with Unser, Jack?
Well, there's two factors. One, he's not been that long since he was on pit road, feeling that they need to conserve as much fuel as possible, but they are having communications problems as well. Al Unser cannot read a lot of what is being transmitted to him, but they did not call for him to go to pit road. Remember, he talked about track position late in the race. Scott, Paul?
Well, Unser Jr. has got track position. I want to go back and take a look. This is from Hornish's point of view. Look at the 21 car. He goes ricocheting off Dixon, the 9 car. He loses it. Everybody else goes for free track. He keeps it on the track.
An impressive piece of driving by Alex Barron, but how did he get there, Paul? Probably got some dirty air off of Sam Hornish Jr., took the front grip away, and drove himself up into the side of Thomas Scheckter.
Unbelievable piece of driving. Alex Barron is so good. Unser Jr. now 20 laps out from his stop. We got some caution here. He might be able to get to the end. I assume that's exactly what they think. Let's go down to the pits again.
Steve Newey on the radio, of course, with Al Unser and watching the telemetry. Steve, what's the strategy here? How much of a gamble have you just made?
Well, we can make the mileage. It's just a matter of whether or not we can stay ahead of everybody. That's the only question mark.
Can you race with full mixture in terms of fuel?
We're not racing full rich, but we can race them, and I think we can run a good pace.
Boy, a lot of us said coming in that this might be Al Unser's day. This gamble may pay off big time, but we still got, what, 32 laps to go, Paul?
168 complete, 32 to go. Unser Jr. in front. Hornish Jr. is line up second. Takagi will be third. Tiger Woods, Ernie Els, Phil Mickelson, and Sergio Garcia tomorrow night. The Lincoln Financial Battle at the Bridges. 8/5 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television. One of the greatest names in golf, and now one of the greatest names in auto racing, the Unser legacy. Unser Jr. sits at the front of the field in the closing laps. What last year was just a whirlwind of racing. He sits ahead of Sam Hornish Jr. New engine. Toyota and Honda started this season new. They came to play and play hard. Chevrolet got caught out. They're catching up today. Unser Jr. takes the green. Hornish moves on him. Look at that acceleration. Takagi moves high too. Unser Jr. finally rolling at speed. Dixon runs high. Unser Jr. has to fade. Takagi now going for the lead.
And Paul, you wonder if that fade of Al Unser Jr. is that lean fuel mixture that he has that we heard Steve Newey report about. Lean fuel mixture means not as much horsepower out of the engine.
On board with Scheckter as they go 3 wide. Hornish is trying to come back at Takagi.
3 wide, 3 wide, 3 wide. He's squeezing him high. 3 wide. He's looking for 3 wide.
Second fastest last time around was Alex Barron, who was in that spin, now runs 6th.
great for Alex to be able to do that. When you have a situation like that, you've got to get yourself calm. He's a professional back out there. Get right back down to the pace. He wants to have a shot at winning.
And Scott, there's always humor in something. They radioed to him and said, now that your heart beats back down to normal, let's go racing.
Scheckter, Hornish Jr. side by side again. On board with Barron.
He was hooked up before, Paul. Look how much speed he's got right now.
Look at this.
Try it 3 wide on the top side. Look how close they are.
Oh! Careful, Alex. You already touched one car today.
You don't put too many pieces of paper in between those 2 wheels, Paul.
He's going to try it again on the backstretch. So is Hornish. There's your top 4. We've been running it better than 217 miles an hour in the Firestone Indy 400. We're now in the closing laps of what has been a great race and is just getting better as Alex Barron gets his nose ahead. Hornish. Scheckter has got the lead. Takagi comes under Hornish.
Clear behind, making a run at you.
That's this racetrack, Paul. Michigan always does this. Just so much goes on in the last stages of this race. As a driver, you think you've got it all calmed down. You just try to settle into a pace, and everybody comes back at you, left, right, and from every angle.
Well, now it's Toyota Power running the top 3. Hornish trying to stay with the lead. Tony Kanaan, by the way, has been in and out of the pits, just came in again. Obviously, his day is fading, but they're trying to do what they can with championship points for him, but he's 12 points behind, or 12 laps behind the lead. Now on board Hornish. Look at that. That's the whole front of the field at better than 216 miles an hour last time around. Barron tries it again. Hornish seems to prefer this groove.
I think he's still got a bit of push going on, Paul. He didn't seem to like being in the middle of those 2 cars. Watch him to make all his moves high.
High is where he goes. Barron's in the middle. Scheckter is low. Scott Sharp gets to see all 3 ahead. They continue to go 3 wide. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. You're watching ABC Sports Championship Television.
The IRL IndyCar Series on ABC Sports continues.
Hornish is in front. Barron is trying to get around him once again. 9 cars, all within 4 seconds of one another. Everybody going for the lead. The back of the string is Al Unser Jr., currently 9th. On board with Barron, the Hollywood Morris non-entry.
Hear any lifting from Sam Hornish whatsoever. No change in the engine pitch. Barron looks to get a little bit of a draft off of him. These guys are not going to take their foot off the throttle.
Hornish, the 2-time and defending series champion. Barron won a year ago at Nashville, Tennessee. By the way, the 14 car of Voigt IV had a long stop in the pits. They had a gear problem. They've repaired it. Now let's have our pit guys bring us up to speed on what the leaders are doing.
Well, for Sam Hornish, deja vu all over again, starting to look like last year or the year before. No concerns about fuel, can run full rich. In fact, they told Sam Hornish, just make sure that you are in the right place on that last lap. Let's check in with Jerry.
Jack, the same here for Alex Barron. Peter Parrott talking to his driver on the radio saying, don't worry about fuel. Full rich means full power. They're going after Hornish. Let's check in with Garrett.
For the Chip Ganassi team target driver, Scheckter, the defending champion, running 3rd. No fuel concerns there. Dixon just lost a notch. It appeared to Scott Sharp. Everybody's good to go for fuel. This is a team that led nearly 50% of the laps this season. They would love nothing more than to lead lap 200 here. Let's check in on Scott Sharp, Jack.
Well, Scott Sharp had that early snafu early on where he made a little bit of contact, but he's battled back. Tom Kelly is calling the race. They like their chances. In fact, they said it's all about drafting right now, but they don't want to show their hand until there are just 5 laps to go.
In the draft, Sharp was the fastest last time around at 219 miles an hour. First and second.
Still there. You got him. He's clear behind.
Scott Goodyear, 2-time winner. Once again, let me put you in the cockpit of the Ford car. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to learn?
You're trying to find out right now if you can stay on the low side, keep that low lane clear just for yourself. You don't want to open it up and let anybody stick a nose in there, because if they do, they're going to move you high. You have to see if you can run fast enough right now. Remember, even though you may not lead through turns 1 and 2 or down the backstretch, you only want to lead coming out of 4 and going to the finish line.
There's your top 4. Sharp, second quick last time around. Jill DeFerrin has moved into 6th. He was the fastest last time. Haven't heard much from him. His teammate Elio Castroneves out early, but look at DeFerrin. He's right at the back of this group.
You've got to give credit to DeFerrin's crew. They worked so hard, changing the gurney flaps on that car, adjusting the downforce that seemed to be too much. And now they've climbed back up the ladder, and when it counts, they're there.
And remember, Penske drivers have won 9 times at this racetrack in the glorious 35 years of Indy-style racing at this plant.
0.8 of a second from the front. Back to DeFerrin in 6th.
Now, Paul, the thing for DeFerrin right now, who's second in the championship, he knows he's going to leave here today probably with the points lead. So does he risk it, get involved in all these guys up here? Or if he has a 6th or 7th place car, does he maybe try and move up only a spot or 2? Can he make it to the front? Probably only really he knows at this point in time.
I'll bet he does. I'll bet he tries every inch of the way. Well, you got to hand it to all these guys, but especially Barron. He's right in there doing everything he can. This outcome could have a substantial impact on the points, depending on how they finish, and that is far from certain. But with Kanaan struggling, Dixon could take the points lead, but so could DeFerrin.
I was going to say, Paul, the one thing that's certain right now, I've been in this position before, when you don't lift lap after lap for these last 25 laps, your leg gets numb. You're pushing that pedal so hard, it's going into the floorboard. All these guys are thinking about right now is pushing it harder to see if they get more speed out of the car.
And guys, I'll tell you, they don't need to have grandstand seats. Every member of this crowd is standing right now. They haven't sat down since the last 20 laps.
Well, there, look at them. Yeah, those were sitting though.
They're up high. They can sit. Once the bottom are standing up. Now watch, Hornish is on the low side, and what's happening with Barron and Scheckter, they're going to push each other along. 2 cars are going to run faster in a line than one by itself. But the low line of Hornish, will that actually make up for the speed difference those 2 guys might have on top?
Into the final 10 laps, the final 20 miles.
Interesting to watch Scheckter right now.
Hey, fellas, quick comment from Pancho Carter. He radioed to his driver and said, now it's time to pull the pin.
Pancho Carter, the spotter up top, the first winner of the Michigan 500 here in the car days. He's the spotter for Sam Hornish Jr., as we mentioned right at the start of the telecast. There's the lead, all of them.
The first 7 right there, and one small error could actually bring that whole pack together. All these guys know that they have to keep smooth, they have to play smart. As Brian Barnhart said, we said it before, you have to have respect for each other, but when we get down those last 5 laps, Paul, these guys are going to try just about anything. Think of what's on the line right now. Sam Hornish has not won since last year. He's used to winning. Alex Barron's been a year. And he's in a part-time ride right now, substituting Felipe Giuffoni. Scheckter in 3rd, hasn't won since last year at this race. His teammate has already won this year.
And let's not forget that Sam Hornish has a big decision on the horizon, whether to return to Pennzoil Panther or to go to another team or even to NASCAR. He has said that he will make his decision no later than the second week in August. Boy, winnings would sure go a long way to helping his decision, I would think.
Well, if he was thinking of going somewhere else.
Gonna be looking outside, coming outside.
He's thinking of going somewhere else, Jack. This new Chevrolet motor is certainly going to give him a second thought.
Barron tries Hornish again. He's got him by a nose right now. Last year, 25 lead changes. We've had 27 thus far. 6 to go.
See how smart Sam's playing at Paul right now? He knows that those guys can run high in the top, but will they have the speed to be able to go around the outside of him on the turns? As long as he's low, he's probably in the best spot he could be.
A second and a half, first through 7.
Remember, we talked about Scott Sharp. Middle of the field for qualifying, second fastest in warm-up. Maybe he's got some more to offer.
3 wide again.
You're clear, you're clear. They're 2 wide behind you.
Hornish is still hanging on.
We know those 2 cars running together in line, we talked about before, faster. Do the spotters up top in that spotters cage that we saw earlier, do they get together with each other right now and say, guys, let's try and make a freight train around the outside?
Or they're not talking to each other. Hornish was fastest last time around, 219 miles an hour. Everybody light on fuel now. The old conventional wisdom used to be that you would want to be in second where Barron is right now.
Usually, but right now, that low line we've talked about before, stay there, make the guys work around the outside. All these drivers know it. Hornish knows it, and he's making Barron go high. Barron does not have the car right now. You see how he's wide on the turn of the exit there? His car's pushing up. He needs to be underneath Hornish, but Hornish is not going to give him the space.
220 miles an hour, last lap for the leader.
Drafting and looking.
That's Poncho Carter again. Spotter for Sam Hornish Jr. telling him what Barron's doing behind him. Paul, it makes you wonder right now with his new power plant. Sam just talking to himself now and saying, come on, just a couple more laps.
Sectors drop back about 150 feet. You also do that sometimes when you want to make a run. 2 to go.
Not with 2 to go right now.
Coming down to get the white flag this time. White flag.
Only guy that's got a shot at it right now is Barron, and he knows it, but he's searching. He doesn't know what to do. Look where Sam is on the white line.
Looking.
Sam Hornish, brand new Chevrolet Gen 4 engine being chased by Toyotas. Of Barron, Schechter, Sharp, Dixon, and Takagi. Honda is A. Here we go. They go side by side into 3.
Outside.
Coming for the line. Coming for the flag. Hornish has got him by a nose, but Barron now pushes ahead. Barron takes it. Barron takes the win from second place. Alex Barron has won at Michigan 400 miles, and they battled every inch of the way. Morris Nunn Racing celebrates. Peter Parrott right there in the middle of all that.
Man, that was awesome, guys. Thank you.
Alex, you bet it was. Oh, that was cool. You see the unofficial results with Alex Barron leading Hornish, Schechter, and Sharp over the line. We'll be back in just a moment.
It is the 4th closest IRL finish in history. Before we talk to Alex Barron, I want to show him and show you. Now, usually that kind of a wheel donut ends up in disaster in an IndyCar race, but not for Alex Barron. Alex, you did a complete 360, and you came back, and you're in victory lane.
Yeah, we had a good car there about halfway through the race.
Made some adjustments, and I think Schechter and I got together in turn 4.
Let me show you that. You can kind of take us through it right there.
I grab. I was coming through turn 4, and I touched the Ganassi car on the right side and spun me around, and was fortunate enough not to hit the wall. And we came in, put some tires on, and the car was right back where it was.
This was we'll take a look at another angle. Look at the way it comes down. And now here's where you really go to work.
Yeah, I had my hands full there, and I was real fortunate I didn't go up to the wall right there. I just let it roll and put it back in gear, and it fired right up.
And then your crew told you, well, as soon as you get your heart rate down, you can go back racing. Alex, take us through the final few laps, because it was an artful course in drafting.
What? Yeah, I didn't know if I had enough on Sam. I had to wait back and come off a 2 right on him, but the last 5 laps, about 3 of them, the 3 to the 5 to the end there, he seemed to have a little bit more power, and I don't know if they went full rich or what, but on the last lap coming around 4, I got a good run, and I freed the car up a little bit earlier, and I just kept pulling. So, you know, the Toyota ran strong to the finish, and that's what we needed.
When you got to the line, did you know you had won?
Yeah, I sure did. I was watching his tire all the way, and we kept inching forward, and I was like, here we go, and then sure enough, we got it. So
you have gotten the title as the master sub. First off, going to Japan, and then, of course, running at Indianapolis, and now for Mo Nunn, replacing Felipe Giafone while he is on the mend. What sort of a statement does this victory make for super sub Alex Barron?
All I could do is look forward, you know, for the future, and hopefully something come up for a full-time ride. But you know, I just like to say, you know, the Hollywood car ran strong all day, and Mo Nunn Racing has a lot of capability to win championships, and you know, I'd love to continue here.
Gary?
Sam Hornish is obviously the man of the hour. Lots of microphones, lots of smiles. You've won so many of these races by inches. Today you lose one by inches. How disappointing?
Oh, I mean, it'd be more disappointing if we were running at the back of the pack all day long. But, you know, I didn't know if he had it, and I knew that he was just timing it. And that's the benefit of being in the back, being the second car, is that you have 20 laps to get it perfectly timed out. And it's worked out so many times for us the right way. And, you know, it's got to work out wrong once.
Let's take a look. We're going to bring a screen in here, and we're going to relive that last lap with you, and let us talk through it. This is riding, of course, with Barron. Here's the white flag.
I knew I had to keep the car down to the bottom. I couldn't block him, and just, you know, stayed where I was at, stayed my line that I've been running. That was the fastest line for us to run today, and he just got the run at the right time, and you know, drafted up and had enough to get it done.
Did you suspect that he might be able to pull it off, or did you think you had the horsepower that you could hang on?
Well, he timed it a couple times when he got it right, you know, right down, and I knew that it would have to be real close to not, you know, work out the right way. But I knew he could get it done. We just wasn't sure if he was going to be able to.
Boy, we've seen so many of these finishes. Here's the last 100 yards or so from your seat. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, come on, come on, come on. It just wasn't enough.
Tell us what it's like now to have the horsepower, this new Gen 4 Chevy engine, and what a boost it's been for you, your team, everybody.
It's been great. I mean, we've got, you know, the guys worked so hard. They put in so many extra hours. I wanted to win as bad for them as I did for me, but, you know, it didn't work out that way. We go to Gateway next week, and we'll do battle there and see what we can do. And I'm just really happy the way things have been going. And, you know, we got a lot of points today, gained a little bit. You know, another 10 wouldn't have hurt, but we'll do the best we can, and you know, it was a great race. So glad that a lot of people came out and watched us today.
Sam, I'm curious as to how much this may influence your decision you're going to make about your racing future. If you stay in the IRL, if you entertain NASCAR bids, if you swap teams. Any thoughts about that right now?
I know that you're going to have good and bad years, and no matter what you do. And I never, you know, never let, you know, how our performance was at the beginning of the season determine, you know, I wasn't going to let it determine what I did next year. I was going to do it by what was in my heart, not by how I was doing the year before.
Great show, and we look forward to even seeing you in the Gen 3 in St. Louis.
We'll see what we can do. We go back to a handling track and see if we can pull out a top 5 there.
Great job.
Finish like today.
Hornish finishes second to Alex Barron, who wins the 4th, the closest race in IRL IndyCar Series history, and is the fastest race in IRL Series history with the average speed 180.917. The previous fastest race was at California last year, 179.345. Here are the unofficial results. 9 cars finished on the lead lap. Al Unser Jr. was one of 6 leaders during the race. Sam Hornish Jr. led the most at 126. Barron led 24.